This is Euronews Now. I'm Helena Humphrey. Here are your headlines. Ukraine says 9 Russian warplanes were destroyed in the Crimea blasts, but has not claimed responsibility for the explosions. Dozens of people are still missing after a migrant boat sinks off the coast of Greece. And as another heat wave grips Europe, thousands are evacuated from their homes in France as another wave of wildfires ravage forests.
Residents of the Ukrainian city of Marganets are counting the cost of the latest round of Russian shelling. At least 13 people died in the strike. Kyiv claims the rockets were fired from the territory of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant, which lies just across the Dnipro River. Russian troops control the plant and have been accused by Ukraine of turning it into a military base from which to fire missiles, knowing it's too risky for Ukraine to fire back. There have been numerous skirmishes near the atomic plant where several shells have already fallen, putting the international community on edge, fearing a nuclear catastrophe. Russia blames Ukraine and has requested today's urgent meeting of the UN Security Council in New York to discuss the situation. At the same time, G7 nations have demanded that Russia must immediately hand back control of the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant to Ukraine. They accuse Moscow's forces of putting the entire region in danger. Earlier this week, a Ukrainian military official said safety at the plant couldn't be guaranteed because there are armed Russians there overseeing Ukrainian technicians, but the power plant units themselves are generally protected. On another front, there is growing pressure on Europe to ban Russian tourists. Echoing his president, Ukraine's foreign minister tweeted he wants international bodies to stop issuing visas to Russians. Visiting Europe is a privilege, not a human right for holidaymakers. Meanwhile, more Russian shelling in the country's northeast has left 2 people dead in the village of Stary Soltiv in the Kharkiv region.
Denmark is pledging millions more to help Ukraine's defence against Russia, bringing its total financial aid to more than 3 billion Danish crowns. The money will be used for weapons, equipment and training. Britain says it will also send more multiple launch rocket systems and guided missiles.
We need, all of us, to continue and to increase our support of Ukraine with weapons, training, demining, financing. I hope that we here today can agree on even more contributions. And of course, Denmark is ready to do our part. Today we can announce a new contribution of 110 million euro for weapons, equipment and training.
As European defence ministers gather in Copenhagen, Ukraine's leader took the opportunity to remind everyone about the dangers of a nuclear catastrophe, like Chernobyl in 1986, accusing Moscow yet again of using Ukrainian power plants to inflict nuclear terror on Europe. Leaders are discussing long-term support for the war-ravaged country. The conference is a follow-up to an April meeting in Germany. Latvian MPs have declared Russia a state sponsor of terrorism, saying its invasion of Ukraine amounted to genocide. They're calling on other European countries to agree and for greater military, financial and diplomatic backing for Kyiv. The declaration has been described as timely by Ukraine's foreign minister. It comes a day after US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin toured the country, announcing more training and military exercises with Baltic nations. Russia has condemned Latvia's resolution, saying it has no substance and calling it xenophobia.
It's now feared dozens of people have died off the coast of Greece after their boat sank while attempting to cross the Mediterranean. An air and sea rescue operation that began Wednesday morning managed to pick up 29 people after their vessel sank in stormy waters. The tragedy happened after the boat left Turkey on Tuesday night. The boat was en route to Italy from Antalya in southern Turkey, an increasingly popular passage for those attempting to get to Europe. The people rescued from the waters are said to be Afghan, Iranian, and Iraqi nationals, according to one official. No one on board was reportedly wearing a life jacket. Since January, 64 people have died in the eastern Mediterranean, and 8 people died off the Greek island of Mykonos on June 19th, and 108 more were rescued. Historical buildings in the old city section of the Yemeni capital Sana'a, which is a UNESCO heritage site, have collapsed after heavy rainfall, which resulted in floods. Another 80 buildings have been heavily damaged. The city is famous for its architectural character, where its houses, referred to as the world's first skyscrapers, are made of red brick and decorated with white plaster.
A man who was allegedly a member of a terror cell linked to the self-proclaimed Islamic State, nicknamed the Beatles, has been remanded in custody in the UK. Ian Davies, who denies being part of the group, was arrested at Luton Airport after being deported to England by Turkey on Wednesday. Mr. Davies has spent more than 6 years in a Turkish prison.
A huge wildfire that has destroyed more than a dozen homes and forced the evacuation of thousands of residents is sweeping through the Gironde region of southwestern France. Authorities believe the latest inferno is the result of so-called zombie fires, a former blaze which lies smoldering in peaty soil and then flares up again.
It's likely that the fire spread underground and then started again in areas that were still green, and at that point the fire, also because of the dryness of the vegetation and the extremely low humidity, started again very quickly and re-inflamed the pines.
Around 1,000 firefighters are tackling the fire, which has ravaged 6,000 hectares of pine forest since Tuesday afternoon. The sweltering temperatures sweeping Europe and the accompanying lack of rain are affecting major rivers. Officials in Germany are warning that water levels on the Rhine River could reach a critical low in the coming days. It will make the transport of goods along the river, including coal and gasoline, increasingly difficult. And in England, where the health warning due to the heat has been issued, it now seems the official source of the River Thames has dried up. The driest start to a year in decades has shifted the source of this English river several miles downstream, leaving scorched earth and the occasional puddle where water once flowed.
More than 1,000 French firefighters have been deployed to contain a resurgent blaze in the southwest of France, an area already badly damaged by wildfires last month. The Gironde is currently facing what authorities there are describing as a monster fire that has already destroyed some 7,000 hectares of forest land and forced the evacuation of thousands of local residents. Today, the country's prime minister and its interior minister traveled to the region to be briefed about the situation, and there they announced that some 10,000 firefighters are currently mobilized across France, backed by water-bombing aircraft. The French president today also spoke about it. He said that Germany, Greece, Poland, Romania and Austria would be sending in some help to France, but because authorities here say they need all the assistance they can get, the French government is also asking French companies to free up all their employees that might be members of the brigades, the fire brigades, reserve services, so that they can join the fight. Annelise Borges in Paris for Euronews.